This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. You know what, folks? PST time, I'm 4 hours ahead, but London GMT, I'm 4 hours behind. Yes, and that is the case today, folks. We're talking to somebody out of London here on June the 17th, 2023. And we're further promoting The Witches of the Sand, which my picture is going to be in that movie. And I've interviewed, I think this is my 10th guest from that film.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, folks, all the way from London, UK, we have Chris Walker. How do you do, Chris?
Hello there, everybody. I'm very well, thank you. Yes, nice to be interviewed by you. I feel like a celebrity. Well, I'm
There you
not.
go. You know what? I'm not either. Now, come on. To me, the way I look at it, I grew up being bullied and not I'd say probably the least popular kid in class growing up, So I don't like to like it's always nice to have bigger performers on here. It's
Yeah.
always nice, to they able to touch that. But I like to try to keep things open for those that are trying to get a voice and trying to be seen as well, because I know what it's like not to. So anyway, I like your shirt, all those palm trees. Look at
Oh,
that.
thank you. I'm trying to be as summary as I possibly can here. It's actually not as good as it has been today. We've had a really hot week, about 28 degrees. Today is a little bit overcast, but not too bad. Not too bad for England. How's it with you in Canada?
Actually, we got it's wet out there right now, So it,
So
it,
it's
it
better here then.
yeah, but I like that picture behind you of all the faces and stuff on it. Now, what
Oh,
is that?
that is a poster I had done for the movie Twins of Evil.
There you go.
So basically, an artist, Simon Pritchard, who's just started doing DVD covers now.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
he's getting famous. Yeah, I know him on Facebook, and starting with about lockdown 2020 in the UK, business dried up for people, and I think he was struggling a little bit for money and stuff, and I like the idea that he would do a personal commission. So he did Twins of Evil for me as if it was like my own film poster to sort of my own design. And as you
Hmm.
can see, it turned out really, really well.
Yep.
And he ended up doing four for me. So he's since done the movie Tower of Evil, which I don't know if you're familiar with,
I
from
am.
1972, another one of my favorites. And The City of the Dead, a
Yep.
1960 British film, and my favorite fantasy film as a child, Jack the Giant Killer. So
Okay.
uh, he's done poster versions. I've got them all scattered around the flat. These wonderful works of art he did for me. So all one-offs. So when he's rich and famous, I've got all these wonderful original artworks on my wall. Be able to retire on it, I hope.
There you go. There you
Uh-huh.
go. Yep. Well, I'm going to tell you, my favorite fantasy film when I was young, and it's still one of my favorite films, was the original Clash of the Titans. I love that.
Oh, okay. The 1981 last one he
Hmm.
did, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've had
Right. Oh,
somebody associated with Ray Harryhausen come on here and tribute to him. So somebody who worked with him. So
wow.
that was, yeah, it was really nice
I met
to.
him once at a London convention back in
Oh
about,
yeah.
oh God, late 90s. Um, and he brought some of the lovely models of the Jason skeletons, and I think he had some of the things, the Medusa from the Clash of the Titans there, and he did like a couple of hours talk about his career, and then did a Q&A at the end. It was at a festival in London. Um, yeah, I mean, he must have been getting on quite a bit then, but he lived to be about 90, didn't he? So,
Yeah, I got an autographed picture of him in the mail. I still have
oh,
it here somewhere, but I remember Clash of the Titans and The Golden Voyage of Sinbad were my favorites of his films. So, and I've interviewed um, some people from The Golden Voyage as well, and I got to meet Caroline Munro, and she is,
oh, yes, we know
oh,
Caroline.
I love Caroline. I had her on here in 2016, but last year I got to meet her,
Wow,
and
where was that?
at Horrorama in Toronto, she was
Wow.
the featured guest, and nearly melted meeting her, you know. But I bought lots of merchandise from her, so
Don't blame you.
yeah,
She's very lovely. We have
yeah.
Hammer conventions and things here. She did an event at the Hotel Oakley Court, which was right
Hmm.
next to Bray Studios in Windsor. I mean, I live in a town called Bracknell. I'm about 10 miles from Windsor, so I
Hmm.
could drive past Oakley Court where they did Rocky Horror Picture Show, all those Hammer and Amicus movies. And they had an event there where they had some Hammer stars. She was there and she signed Dracula AD 72 repro
Hmm.
poster I got. I didn't have an original, just a repro, but
They screened that while she was at this event too. Dracula 72 AD.
I think it's one of the best things she's done. I mean, she's done so much. She's been a Bond girl. She's been in the Dynamation movies, um, Hammer Star,
I have
everything.
Veronica Carlson on from the Hammer films as well. She's sadly no longer with us, but I had her on here.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I never got to meet her. But Valerie Leon, I've met at conventions from the Blood from the Mummy's Tomb and Carry On movies. She was a Bond girl as well. Um, that's the great thing about being not very far from London. All these events happen quite regularly, and they're still getting these stars from the Hammer days who are still with us. I got to meet people like Janina Fay from the original Hammer Dracula. She was a little girl when that was made in the 50s. And I met her when she was about 60, 65. And
Hmm.
you can still tell they never seem to age, these ladies, do they? The faces all look still just the same. A tiny few wrinkles here and there, but they age much better than the men.
Oh yeah. Nope, certainly get it. Yep. But no, no, I met her at Horrorama, and I had a lot of fun at that, you know, and I have a lot of fun at this too. I haven't been involved in a lot of the independent films lately, but you know, because financially it's getting tougher to do it. But um, I did get affiliated with Tony Martin, and I remember. Here's what I remember best about Tony is that I told him, I said, look, I said, uh, due to my finances, I can either get buy it on Blu-ray or put my picture in the movie. And he said, buy the Blu-ray and we'll put your picture in the movie. And I was like, are you kidding me? Thanks. I
No,
thought
he's
that
not like
was,
that. He's very, very kind, generous, and once you've donated something, he remembers you. He's like a friend for life. He's so grateful for whatever money they get. And the whole
yeah.
film, it's like, well, I didn't meet Tony until 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually was with some friends in the town of Whitstable, where he lives. I
Mm-hmm.
was visiting there because it was Peter Cushing's home. I think Tony mentioned this in one of his chats because obviously he lived there and he saw him quite a few times. I never got to meet Peter myself because he obviously passed quite a long time ago. But I wanted to see the town where he lived for about 40 years. And of course, you could get to see his house, which was right on the seafront and looking in a not a very good state of repair at the moment. I think it's recently just been sold for something crazy like £1.5 million for a 3 bedroom house on the seafront in Kent. But there was also like a walk and a seat, a bench where there was a plaque for him, a pub named after him, and he used to have his lunch in something called the Tudor Tea Room. So there was a photo and framed letters of his in this little restaurant, a museum exhibit with some of his possessions and some of his drawings were there. So it was always a place I'd wanted to see. So I went to visit with some friends, was in the Peter Cushing pub, and Tony Martin came in. I didn't know him from Adam, but he knew some friends who were around the table with me. Um, and he started talking in the conversation about the Witches of the Sands, this project he'd been working on for probably about a year by then. And it all sounded very interesting. And I didn't think anything more of it at the time. We had a little chat and a drink, and then that was that. And it was about 6 months later on Facebook that I then befriended him. So, friend of a friend, kind of a thing. And then the Indiegogo campaign came along. So he'd done a year of filming. He told us it was going to be just a short film as part of an anthology originally. And then that fell through, and he wanted to carry on making it and expanding it. And it grew and grew and became this sort of feature idea of this whole history of these witches since medieval times, right the way through to modern day with all of his ancestors. And him playing this film director trying to make a movie, which, so the film is like the film within a film in ways, whereby little parts of it are his relatives and his historical people from his past who've been involved in witchcraft, and then his kind of mental health issues making the movie, and everything slowly degenerating until he finally kind of cracks at the end of the film. And he'd already shot, well, I think they said 50% of the film had been made as of 2021, the middle of 2021. But that largely seemed to consist of, he'd managed to get all these stars. I don't know how he did it, because, the Deborah Lamb and the Linnea Quigley and Lloyd Kaufman and Barbara Magnolfi and Brink Stevens. And the list was growing and growing of all these people that had done horror stuff in the 70s and 80s. And then he'd hit this kind of brick wall where he wanted to do more and add more scenes and expand things for it. But he needed the money. So the Indiegogo came along. And I'd already done, and I started off my acting as just amateur theatre. I've been doing that since the 1980s, and musicals, Shakespeare, Agatha Christie, you name it. I've done all of this stuff, but I always wanted to do horrors and films.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, how do you get into films? Mainly, you have to go and study in college for years. Then you have to pass and join something like RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and then you have to be seen in something, and eventually, before you can even think about getting into movies, it's like a closed shop. But those days have gone now, because independent filmmaking, crowdfunding, and people are willing to take anybody who's eager rather than famous. So that's how I'd started to inch my way into movies. So I'd done, let me think. The first one I did was 2017. And that was a project that Lynn Lowry was going to have a part with. Who
Love
I think,
her.
yeah, you interviewed her, haven't you? And I
I
suddenly,
interviewed her and I met her at Horrorama 2018. Love her. Mm-hmm.
lovely lady, yes. And suddenly this scene came up. It was only going to be a short film called The Ripper Tour, and it was about 10 minutes long, but she was going to be the star, and they had a perk of a scene with her. So I thought, I would love to do that. I mean, she was in movies I love. I Drink Your Blood, The Crazies, The Shivers.
Shivers.
Yeah, and I just thought, how fantastic just to get one scene with this lady. So anyway, I put the money in, and I won it. And the next thing, I was off to London and went to the producer's house. That was Stuart Morris, who was producing it for Misty Moon Society and Robo Films. And all right, okay, yeah, here you are, Chris. Yeah, Lynn's in there in the living room. Just go and say hello, and then we'll be taking you to the restaurant to do the scene. So they just pushed me into the living room, and she sat there, I think, reading her lines. And oh, hi, hello, Lynn. Pleased to meet you. I'm Chris Walker. I'm going to be doing the scene in the restaurant with you. Oh, brilliant. Oh, how are you, Chris? Oh, chatting away like she'd known me all of her life. And then I said, well, I've never made a movie before. I've done theatre and stage. And so I might be a bit nervous in front of the cameras. And she just said, honey, don't worry. Don't worry. Just be real. Don't look directly into the camera, and just be yourself, and you'll be fine. And that's how we did it. So we warmed to each other straight away. and it was great fun. I think that was a good introduction for me to be in movies. I think if I can try and show you some pictures. Oh, I can't do screen sharing. Never mind. I was going to put some photos on, but not to worry. There were some photos that I'd got of the filming with her, and great, a little scene in a restaurant. She was introducing herself as this lady who was going to tour the sites of the.
I can put it on there for multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Um, can the share screen thing work so that you can let me show photos on here, or
Yeah,
is
I'm
that
open
setting?
to I'm open to it. Sure.
Okay.
I
If
don't know why it would. Maybe it just auto set that way.
I don't know. So if I click, oh, okay, here we go. So let's have a look. So what do I need to do here? Let's have a look.
But I remember meeting Lynn. She's a hugger, and I got
Yeah.
lots of stuff. I got lots of stuff signed by her, through the mail and this and that. So I've kept in touch with her, and I was her first podcast. So,
Okay.
yeah, she's very easy to like.
Well, she was just so easy to get on with her because obviously she was just chatting away, and it's like we'd known each other for so long. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on here to share my desktop and not having
Oh well.
any. I might be able to. Yeah,
But I mean, I had Deborah Lamb on here, and she was a lot of fun to talk to.
I met Deborah at one of the Misty Moon events. She was crazy. We went night clubbing with her after one of the premieres of one of the movies Misty Moon had done, and she with Lynn as well. I have got pictures of me drinking pints of English beer with Lynn Lowry. I'm just so annoyed I can't seem to find this link to be able to share the desktop with you. Don't know why it's not working.
Oh
But
well.
no, I don't seem to have the option to be able to share what's on my desktop. Everything but really. Oh, how annoying. Never mind. Never mind. So
Okay.
so yeah, I'd worked with her, and then we did another movie a year later, which she did something called Ready for My Close Up. Don't know if
Oh
you've heard of
yeah.
films.
Yeah.
She was the fading film star, and kind of living alone with a nurse looking after her, but totally crazy and killing everybody off who came to visit her, really. And that was good fun. So she had all these fast food guys delivering stuff to her, and then killed them all off. But in the film, they showed some trailers, some fake trailers of movies she supposedly had made, and I was in the one where it was a ninja. I was like a ninja zombie warrior, and she ran me through with a samurai sword,
Hmm.
which was great fun. So I'd done a couple of little films. I'd made my own short film during the lockdown that managed to get shown at one of the dark festivals in England, and then Tony came along. So I'd done a couple of little things, and I thought, well, maybe this will be something a bit bigger. Instead of a short, this is going to be a feature film.
It's
And
got killer sandwich in it, so.
yeah, well, he hadn't done any of that then. The Indiegogo thing came up, and it was, do you want to? One of the perks, do you want to die on camera? So I thought, well, of course, brilliant. That's what I want to be in horror movies for. So he was going to be filming in Whitstable Theatre. It was actually uh, the climax of the film where Tony, the character he plays, goes completely mad as the director. It's supposed to be set at the film premiere of the movie that he's made, and everyone has completely trashed it, and he just finally loses the plot and runs around, murders everybody who's at the premiere. So he said to me, well, we've got two options for how you can die. You can either have your eyes stabbed out, or we'll chop your dick off. uh, so I said, okay, I'll go for the eyes being stabbed out. Thank you very much. So when I arrived on set, he said, no, we're going to do both. So I had this very sleazy scene in the gentleman's toilet of the theatre where Tony comes in. I'm at the urinal. He stabs the eyes out and then gets some shears, chops my dick off. And then the rest of the movie, I'm wandering around the stage, staggering around, saying, "Where's my dick? I can't find my dick." That was a memorable first scene to be in. So that was like 2 years ago. That was about the summer of 2021. And then I thought, well, okay, I've done my little bit, brilliant. And then a few months went by, and another perk came along, and Tony started writing more and more scenes into the film. It became great idea we've got. I must have this extra scene. I want to do this. Want to do this. So he was going to be having a witch drowning scene. They were going to film it on the beach, just along from Whitstable, where he lives, a place called Reculver Towers. It's like an old Roman fort right by the sea. Photographed really well. Looks brilliant. So they got Lindsay Drew Honey, who was in American Werewolf in London, a small part.
Yeah, I'd love to get her on the show here. I love that movie.
She's in. I think she lives in Spain, but she does come back here every now and again. So you may be able to get her.
Yeah.
But the scene was going to be with her, and I was going to be just an extra originally, with a few lines where she would be dragged up a hill, condemned, and then drowned. And I think then they were going to chop her head off for good measure. And it so happened that the guy who was going to do the main priest part backed out about a week beforehand. Couldn't make it. So Tony offered it to me. More lines, better part. And I got to wear a very good Vincent Price Mask of the Red Death, a red cloak with a hood.
Yeah.
And to say all this Latin and cursing this witch and then condemning her to be drowned, etc. And then we dragged her down the beach, and that was that. She was killed off. So that was my second part. Then about another 3 months went by, and yet again another scene appeared that sounded really good. And then he said, right, this one is going to have Lawrence Harvey in from the Human Centipede movies.
I met Ashley C. Williams from Human Centipede.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and had her on here. Yeah, she
Wow.
did the first con I was at, Horrorama 2017. Ashley C. Williams was there, looked stunning, and I had her on my show a couple years ago.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Paths keep crossing, don't they, with these things? And I was so pleased because, again, it was another weird scene. It was all that Tony told me was that it was going to be set in a Christmas grotto with a Father Christmas and a Mother Christmas and a girl playing a reindeer and a nasty elf. And originally he'd written it for a man and a woman to be taking their rather precocious daughter into the grotto. And the plan was going to be, it was all a plot. It wasn't a real Christmas grotto. It was actually psychopaths dressed up, and they'd been hired by the husband to kill off the horrible daughter and the wife. But he rewrote it so that we were a gay couple and we'd adopted a precocious daughter. So I was there. And again, Lawrence was, I'd never met him before, but after seeing the Human Centipede 2, you don't know what to expect, do you? But totally learned, cultured, wonderful man, very friendly, great sense of humor. They dressed him up in this red and green little Christmas elf costume, painted his face up. And then Tony was Father Christmas, and Danny Thompson was the reindeer. So she's a famous horror queen in England these days. And the whole family of psychos, basically, yes, they disemboweled the poor little daughter, and then Lawrence killed me by hitting me over the head with a golf club. Don't ask. Totally bizarre. So another crazy death. So by this time, I was becoming a real regular. I'd done like 3 separate scenes, and we got to the end of 2021 into 2022. And then he said, are you interested in funding if we can get a very big star, but it would be quite a lot of money, but we need to, I would love to be able to get this person to do this part. So he then told me it was Ian McCulloch from Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Okay.
So, and I mean, he hasn't acted since, I don't know, 20 odd years ago. So I think he was like retired, living in Scotland. But apparently the idea was he was going to get him into the movie. He'd been talking to his agent and told him a bit about the scene, and managed to coax him into coming, as long as they could get the financing. So they asked me and another guy if we'd be willing to help fund this, which we were happy to do, because I mean, man, my God, Ian McCulloch from Zombie Flesh Eaters, how could you not? Biggest star that I would have ever met, you know. So ended up getting a couple of scenes with him. They did a sort of a kind of a Captain Kronos spoof, where he was dressed up in a cape and a big long saber, and was running through the countryside with a priest as his assistant, and they were vanquishing evil, a bit like Captain Kronos did. And I had one of the villagers scenes in that, and then the next day, totally different scenes set in a antique bookshop, and he was the proprietor, and he read my tarot, predicted I would be killed. I leave the shop and immediately get run over, come back as a zombie, and he shoots me. Unbelievable. Two for the price of one. I got that with that perk, so that was brilliant. So completely on a roll with the film by then. But of course, every time we think that it was nearing the end, Tony comes up with something else.
Mm-hmm.
He then wanted to do a scene with killer vines attacking people for no apparent reason other than he thought it would look good. So I ended up going back to do a sort of not really a speaking part, but just part of the team. People are attacked by these killers vines, very much like in the Dr. Terror's House of Horrors episode. I don't know if you know that movie from the 60s. There's a whole episode with these vines attacking people. It was all done very much like that, with people outside the window waving vines about and wrapping them around people's body with blood tubes and things. Great fun. So I was like, you know, I think I'd been in it almost as much as Tony by then. So that was the killer vines scene. And then he mentioned the restaurant scene, this crazy restaurant scene that they filmed just a couple of months ago. And this time it was going to have Lawrence Harvey back again, and also Simon Bamford, who was in the Hellraiser movies, playing the Butterball character. And I got to sit at the table with these weird, very weird. How we were dressed was strange. Everybody was like a villain, a nasty character that had evil traits. And we're basically in this restaurant, again, to be killed off. So we're sort of led to believe everything's okay, and we're eating cakes and things. And then we get the magic mushrooms, and we're all spaced out of our heads. And then the restaurant staff, and that was a tattooed lady who had a slave on a leash on all fours that she was carrying, walking along behind her. She had a big cattle gun, zapped us all in the head, very Texas Chainsaw Massacre style. And then at the end of it all, they go to the kitchen, and there is a chef there that looks very much like Leatherface, who is kind of, chopping people up. And they all sit around the table and have cooked and eaten us at the end. So I think only Tony Marden knows where all this is going. So the half a dozen things that I've been in it have been really good fun. Oh, I've missed one, sorry. And then there was yet another one, a ghost hunting scene where a little girl was being haunted, and they wanted to do one of those series where investigators go around the house checking for psychic phenomena, and Tony was leading them, but not really taking it very seriously, totally sending it up. And he said to me, I want you to be part of the team. There's going to be another character who will be my assistant. But then he said, would you mind doing it in drag? So I thought, well, I don't care. I've done drag before. I've done pantomimes dressed up as a dame and that kind of thing. So why not? So he ended up creating this character called Crystal LeBall, who was me in tacky drag, a wig, big padded chest, cosmic looking dress, running around this house with water diviners and spiritual things, looking for traces of ghostly activity. And I did a voice that was very much like Robin Williams doing Mrs. Doubtfire, Scottish. Oh, like that.
Yeah.
And then we had a great scene with a seance and Ouija board and everything. And I got to do that with Tony as well, in another horrible dress and wig, and we summon up this horrible evil spirit at the end of it. So it's just a crazy, totally demented film that has grown from what was going to be a humble beginning, but now it's so epic, and the cast is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
He literally has about 20 people in it now who have
Who
got.
else have you met?
Well, as I say, I mentioned the ones I got to work with Lawrence and Simon. I wasn't in scenes with because Lynn Lowry's also in Witches of the Sands, but she
Mm-hmm.
filmed her scenes in America doing this voodoo doll thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I now own. Actually, I got the prop for it. I also got Ian McCulloch's cloak as Captain Markway, what he was playing. So I've been buying props. I've been helping out, with quite a lot of the production. That's why Tony in the end said, I'll make you one of the producers on this film, because I probably sunk about £2,000 into this movie myself.
Here's the people I've interviewed from. I've interviewed Tony a couple times. Deborah
Yeah,
Lamb's been on. Linnea Quigley's been on.
never met
Uh,
them.
Donna Lee Heising's been on.
No, never met.
Lynn Lowry's been on.
Yeah,
Michael St. Michael's, I've had him on a couple times.
I've never met him.
Eileen Dietz, I've had on a couple times.
I've met Eileen at a Dark Fest. In fact, she sold me one of her Pazuzu.
Got one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got one.
yeah. Oh, have you got one? Hang on, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
because this is I made a movie with this when I was in the lockdown.
Yep.
I made a little tiny film called The Devil's Idol, shot it on my mobile phone, and I basically had this little beastie
I've got one. Yep.
running around the flat, attacking me and what have you for about 20 minutes. And yes, Eileen, she's great fun. I was surprised how tiny she is, though.
Yeah. I've had her on a couple times, and I've
Wow.
had Genevieve Rossi's been on here 5 times.
Oh, okay, no, I don't know them.
Yep. So I've had a few people from the film on, and
I met Giovanni Lombardo Ladici, but not on the movie, because again, I think he filmed his cameo either from Italy or some other time. It wasn't when I was there, but I have met him at film fairs before and had photos done, etc. So because he knows Tony very well, or knew Tony very well. They were in some movies together themselves, weren't they? Beyond Fury and stuff like that. So sadly, yeah, he's left us now. But hey ho. So I think on the movie, that's probably all the ones that I've actually met or had a scene with. But it's not bad going, considering
nope.
I'm just kind of the scenes I've seen photos from with mummies in and Nazis and hillbillies.
Flying sandwiches with
Yeah,
teeth.
I mean, it just gets stranger and stranger. And of course,
Yeah.
when I try and grill Tony over getting some sort of cohesive plot out of it, he sort of calls back and no, it will all fit together. You will see when it finally comes out. You will see what this is like. So he's got the ultimate plan, but it's just such a creative and such a diverse film, and the cast is so good. I think it's one of the most anticipated independent films that's being made in England at the moment. I really do, because I mean it's already been about 3 years in the making. He seems to think that there is probably about there's one big scene to do where he's going to do with this demon knight, going to shoot it green screen in a studio in Essex, and then a couple of little pickup shots, and then he says that's it, no more filming, no more scenes, we'll go into post-production. And yeah, but he still seems to be saying it will be, well, the end of 2024. I hope it's not that long, because we're all so eager for it, you know.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
It's the wonderful world of indie filmmaking. I mean, this would have been impossible a few years ago, wouldn't it, without social media and the whole stick a few pounds into a project and then you end up getting a scene in it. And so I've been lucky with this one, because I've done so many that I've ended up being invited to some of them now. So some of them I helped with the funding, and some of them he just said, oh, great part coming up, I'd like you to do this. And you're actually getting offered the work, you know. So yeah, I've gone from that one little opening scene to that. There's about half a dozen things in it now. So I'm kind of thinking, if I ever get famous, if I'm ever going to be in something that people will see and will go, oh yeah, I know him, it will be with the Witches of the Sands. All the other stuff is I've had little tiny parts in other there's some movies I've done that have been things like the Video Shop Tales of Terror, which I had Lawrence Harvey in again, and he killed me, but they filmed it separately and edited it through green screen. So he played a character that was turned into a giant frog with a big tongue, and then the tongue came and strangled me and my eyes popped out. So I'm yet to see that. That's being released on Blu-ray later in the year. So I can't wait to see that one. I also did some scenes for a film called The House That Zombies Built for Jason Wright. I don't know if you've heard anything about that one, but again, it's got Lawrence
I
Harvey.
believe I've interviewed somebody from that. Let me see, because I believe so, because I've heard that name before. I'll go down. Keep talking though.
Well, again, Lawrence was in it, and the chap who I had a dialogue scene with a chap called Craig David Dowsett, and he was
That was it. That was it.
I had
He
a
was
dialogue
in.
scene. Yeah, we were talking. I was dressed as a doctor, and we were talking about something in a horror movie magazine about zombies, and no such thing as zombies. They don't really exist. And the joke being that behind us, a great horde of zombies come running up behind us, attack us, and kill us. And in between takes, he was like saying, oh, you know, I'm getting quite excited. I shot this movie independently that's getting a release. Finally, it's going out and it's going to be shown in cinemas in America and in Europe and that. And he mentioned it, or Winnie the Pooh, Blood and
Yep.
Honey. And I thought, wow, that sounds a crazy title. And he said, yeah, I'm in the Winnie the Pooh costume in it. And that was like about a year ago we shot that.
I've
And
interviewed a couple people from that movie. Craig's going to be at Frightmare in the Falls this fall, which I'm supposed to be present at. So,
wow. Well,
yeah,
he's doing very well, isn't he? Because he's this year the film has really taken off, and
mm-hmm.
it's had like he's getting red carpet treatment, he's getting interviews and signings, and really
Yep.
getting Hollywood sort of treatment from a film that I think the budget was like, I don't know, 200 grand or something, and it's making millions now, probably the Winnie the Pooh name is making people intrigued by it. The
I
concept of
bet.
being a horror movie. I have yet to see it, but it's come out here on, I think it's out on Blu-ray and Amazon streaming and stuff like that. So that's hit the big time, and he's suddenly getting really good star treatment. And yet he was in exactly the same boat that I was. You know, he'd done some amateur films, and he'd crowdfunded stuff, and then thought nothing more of this part. And all of a sudden, one of the films he's been in, yeah, big hit. So just goes to show, you never know, do you? You never know
Nope.
what may happen from a very humble movie. It just strikes the public eye somehow. It gets seen, and before you know it, yeah, it's a really big hit. So that's what I'm thinking, and I wish Tony all the luck in the world with it, because it's a labor of love. He's been on it for 3 years. There's probably another year to go, and I hope that he gets the same luck that the guys who did that Winnie the Pooh film. You know, he gets a distributor, and it gets seen, and big things come from it. So he really deserves it. He's a very nice guy, Tony. Very
Oh
down to
yeah, I've had him on here a couple times, and like I said, I'm happy to be part of this project. My picture's in it, you know,
yeah.
so that's gonna be great. So it's not a huge contribution, but you know, it's still nice to have my image in it, and
And everything that will helps, of course. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and I don't know how he's going to put all these photos in. He's come up with a clever plan, I believe, how he's going to put the photos in. It's not just going to be a title roll with little thumbnails. I think he's done something quite grand with it, but we don't
Oh,
know
I
yet.
bet he has. He's a
Mm.
very imaginative guy. Very expressive, great sense of humor. Yep, I'm glad I had him on here a couple times. I look for, you know what? If it doesn't come out for another year, I say good because it gives him time to tighten things up and make a better movie. So I say go
He's,
for it.
he's adding animation sequences
Yep.
to it. There are song numbers in it. I mean, it pretty much has everything that you could ever wish to have in a film, you know. And I
Hmm.
don't think a horror film's ever been made with such an eclectic cast. You know, for
Yep.
people watching it are going to go, well, I remember that guy or that lady from the 70s. They were in that cult film I love. And it will also appeal to people who won't maybe know those older stars, but will know the newer ones. And there'll be references to so many other horror movies, quite subtly done, but people will pick up on where they've come from. But it's also very much its own story as well. It's not like just a homage whereby they've just copied scenes from other films, you know, as something very fake. It's all got a good reason for it, and very cleverly done. Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a complete script though. If you ever work with if you ever work with Tony, you can't just say, "Look, let me read this so that I can, you know, piece it all together." I think he had the idea, he expanded it in his mind, he came up with the extra scenes and knew where they were going to go, and he told people what to do when they were being filmed, and that's about as far as that's gone. So, yeah, there's never been a written script. But I'll tell you one thing I can show you. Tony mentioned about the top trumps cards, which
Okay.
you weren't very familiar with them, were you, in America?
No.
It's like a betting game. It's not with normal cards, but it's he's come up with these twats trumps, the witches'
Okay.
plans. And basically, back in the 70s, you used to have these cards, kids played with them, and it used to be, oh, I don't know, maybe it would have pictures of sports cars on, and it would rate them for different top speed, engine power, this kind of thing. And the idea being that you used to get your card, um, quote the characteristic that you thought would be the best score. You'd put your card down, and everybody would have to do the same. And then whoever had the highest rating, you won the hand. And then if you ended up winning all of the cards, that was how it played. So these ones are being produced now. We've got this is like some of the monsters. The Appetite for Carnage,
Miss, Miss,
91.
Mr.
Twatty.
Pickles.
Yeah, that's Mike Butler. He's played virtually all of the monsters in this film. Glass-headed
Okay.
Gus, Mr. Pickles, the Mummy, the Vine victim. Uh, I mean, you name it, he's been covered in more makeup. He's the horrible chef in the restaurant. So you've got horror factors, screen time, spin-off ability. So all these ratings come along. There's the one for um, Lindsay Drew Honey as
Oh,
the
there you
witch,
go.
you know. So he's kind of come up with all of the. That's Mike Butler as a zombie. So he's done these as promo items. Victim of the vines. You get my drift?
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got. There we go. We've got Ian. Oh, that was the nasty. That was the spirit that we conjured up during the seance scene. Um, oh, that's just look annoying extra. I mean, what a great name. Tony as a Nazi. That's me, Crystal LeBall in drag.
Okay. Oh, great.
Yeah, so I've even got my own card, you know. Um, can you read these titles okay?
Yeah, yeah, Lavina. Yep.
Yeah, so there's a bit of glare coming on the camera, but obviously quite a
The
few of the
director.
characters
Yeah.
there are Tony. That's Glasshead Gus and Ghoul Girl Gertie. So you can see the makeups are very good in this thing. We had a wolf woman.
Wolf Woman. Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
you must know this guy. He goes out and does Dawn of the Dead homages and dresses
Oh,
up
nice. Yeah.
Flyboy. Um, we had a Maharaja in it. That was in the hillbilly scene. That was Mrs. Santa Claus.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I mean, you know, just a bearded lady as part of
Uh-huh.
the punk steam show, a squid lady. I mean,
Wow.
this is all stuff. The Mummy, you know,
The Mummy.
there's so
Yep.
much. There's so much in this film. Um, Druids, demons, you name it. A prom king and queen. I think it's got every aspect of horror you can think of. Druid princess, you know,
Wow.
like a circus master. I mean, they're just so good. That was
Lawrence
Lawrence,
Harvey. Yeah.
the nasty Christmas dwarf. We had a naked gimp on the beach with a witch's mask on. There was a scene that was like the mafia.
Yeah.
That's Donna Lee Helsing
Yeah. Pat her on
playing
the show.
Hamlet. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like Basket Case Monster. I don't quite
Yeah.
know where it fits in. A Witchfinder. That's a great one. Small Snack. She was a little girl eaten by a zombie, so they called her Small Snack. Of course, Deborah.
Deborah Lamb. Yep.
Deborah
Had her
Lamb,
on the show.
the
Yeah.
medieval scene. Um, Simon Bamford from
Uh-huh.
Hellraiser.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean the production on it. Oh, that's Rolexus. I remember you
Beautiful.
talking to Tony. Yeah, that's Tony's new partner.
I gotta get her on the show. Yes, that's
Yeah, you'll have to
right.
get Lauren, Mr. Claus.
Yeah.
That's the kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage in the kitchen of the restaurant scene. Um, so you can see how great this all is, and they did one for Giovanni as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, and that was a naked tattooed lady in the restaurant scene.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
it's just absolutely. He's gone to so much trouble to. This is just promotional. He had
Oh,
180
that's
page.
great.
He
Oh,
had
it
a
makes
yeah.
me more excited for it too.
Well, he had like 180 page glossy book printed of production photos that just looks $1 million, and absolutely incredible. T-shirts printed, and then getting people, the stars, to wear these T-shirts and be at events with it. So it's already getting pre-sold very well. He's got his head screwed on right. I don't think he's the kind of person who's just gonna you know, when this is finally done and he wants to put it out in the world, I don't think he's just going to accept the first person that offers him a few thousand, you know, to buy it off him and then become the owner of it, because he'll lose all control of it if that happens. And you know what I mean? It'll be 4 years of his life, and it will be somebody else owns it, and he won't be able to then control what it does. So I think his plans are going to be, you know, festivals, and he did even talk once about trying to take it to Cannes. Whether or not that's the real thing, or I really don't know. It'd be great if he could,
It'd be
and then get
wonderful.
somebody, yeah, get somebody there to then be interested in making an offer for it. So anyway, fingers crossed for this crazy movie that is a weird mix of all sorts of styles, a cast of genre legends and complete unknowns all rubbing shoulders with each other. I must admit, every scene that I've seen, every little clip that he's let go, every tiny. Did you ever get to see the little trailer that he did?
I did, yes. Looked
Darkfest
great.
one. Yeah, it was only like about a minute, and it was done specifically for Darkfest. So there were lots of in jokes, the organisers. But I think this November he's going to have, you know, a full length, bigger trailer for it, because obviously I think everything will have been shot by then. So I think by November there'll be a longer, more comprehensive trailer coming out. But everything that I've seen, it looks so well lit, so well photographed. The time and effort put into setting up the shots. Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever been on a movie set, but it's a lot of
Yeah.
waiting around generally. You know, you sit
Mhm.
there and you prep for makeup and costume, and then it could be an hour before they've got the lights ready and they've got the camera in the right position and they have walked through how they're going to do it. You know, then they sit you down. Okay, can we run it through? And right, we're ready for a shot. So there's a lot of waiting until you actually get to do the stuff. But he's so relaxed on the set. You know what I mean? He just kind of, some of the scenes have been very improvised as well. That whole thing he was telling you about, the restaurant scene with all of these peculiar perverts and murderers and things sitting around the tables, stuffing themselves with big cupcakes.
Hmm.
Uh, um, and he just gave us one line of dialogue to say, and we had to find new ways of putting a different slant on it. And
Hmm.
this weird line was, "Thou thou lump of foul deformity," which is from Hamlet, I believe. So we had to kind of think of interesting ways to deliver that same line over and over again whilst we were eating a cake or looking at somebody, or and it was great watching Lawrence do his bit, and then they put the camera on me and I had to think of something different. And then they put the camera onto Simon Bamford and he did something different. And it was great. At the end of it all, we got like a round of applause from the rest of the people there, because they were just so, wow, we're watching these actors just kind of making this thing up. Isn't it incredible? Um, and then when we saw it all played back, or some of it played back, it just looked so good because they'd lit it with kind of Mario Bava style filters, you
Oh,
know,
nice.
and it
Yeah.
all looks so vibrant. And I just thought it really doesn't look like a digitally shot image at all. It looks like a really rich film print would look like, Technicolor, you know. Um, so utterly incredible. And every time I see something more about it, an animated sequence or something else they've come up with, it just blows my mind. He's done this on, I think, about 20,000 pounds,
I
which,
don't know.
I mean, that wouldn't even pay the coffee bill on a Hollywood movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, but because I guess he gets to call in favors, people are doing it because they like him and they know him, and he's only having to find money for physical things like maybe travel or food on set, you know, putting somebody up in a hotel, maybe that
Hmm.
kind of a thing. Um, by and large, the people who are the crew and everything are doing it because they just love horror movies and they want to be a part of it. So he's been very laid back, very lucky, I think, as a first time director, because as he said before, he doesn't know the technical stuff. He knows what he wants in his mind. He's written it all. He can visualize it all. He just has to tell the guys, well, look, I want you to create that. I want you to film that. That's how I want it to look. And the guys go off. They set the gels on the lights. They position everything, and the magic happens. So it's going to be incredible. I can't wait. I just really can't wait.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this too. It sounds very spur of the moment the way it's being shot, but I love the fact this guy has got so many ideas, and I love that he's going to exploit those ideas in very creative ways. So
Yeah,
yeah, hats off to Tony Martin. I look forward to seeing this finished product, and it's great to see that you've expanded in it as well. So yeah.
in more ways than one.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
but
talking about your part, so
oh, I
yeah,
think, yeah, from what I thought was going to be a one-off scene to now be listed as a producer and be six different characters. I mean, I still think this film's going to be about a 2 hour running time with
that's fine with me.
so much to cram into it. I reckon there'll probably be a director's cut that's about 4 hours, and then there'll
Well, I
be
look at it this way:
a,
if people could sit through 3 hours of Titanic and that was a snore fest, then this is totally fine with me.
yeah, yeah, I understand. I mean, the length shouldn't make any difference at all if it's interesting and people
Hmm.
uh, wouldn't even be aware of how long a film's running if they're captivated. But I just think there's so much that I've seen film that you probably will. I think Tony will have a sort of a special uh, when the Blu-ray comes out for the people who funded it. They'll probably have the sort of special edition. There'll be a lot of extra things that were shot, and probably we can't put everything in, so that's going to be taken out. But I reckon, yeah, there'll be like a 4 hour version, and then maybe
Why
a
not?
2 hour version for general release, because it's just crammed with so much. Amazing. So
Uh,
we shall see. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to get Lauren Barnett on as well, because she'd be an interesting person for
You
you
know
to.
what? I got to reach out. Yes, I
Yeah,
recall mentioning that to Tony when I had him on. I got to do that and get more people on. I think you're my 10th guest from the film, so
well,
there you go. Yep.
wow. Well, what I
Abs-
might do is I'll send you some of the photos I was going to show you, and then
mhm.
maybe you'll be able to edit them into your video somehow or another, if that would work.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because it would be nice to show some of the shots that I was talking about. Yeah, just to give people a little taster. So,
Hmm.
yeah, brilliant. Great chatting to
Absolutely.
you, Greg. Yeah,
Well, it was wonderful having you come on here today and talk about this and further promote the Witches in the Sand and Tony's crazy ideas and that we can't wait to see come into fruition. Um, uh, Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
no problem at all. What do you want me to say?
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay, well, I'm Chris Walker, and I have been with Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Absolutely. You mentioned the conventions earlier.
Hmm.
What was your most amazing experience going to a convention?
Oh gosh.
Was
Well,
there anybody you met
I'll
that
tell
just
you
blew your
what.
mind?
Yeah, the thing is, I did conventions from probably the late '80s to the mid '90s, when people
Nice.
didn't have their mobile phones. There wasn't this big, oh, I must get everything signed and queuing up for things. They were a lot more low key events. They used to be probably they'd hire a cinema for the day and they'd have 4 or 5 cult movies on, and they'd try and get some guests linked with the films. And often
Mm-hmm.
these people would sit in the audience with you, and then they would chat about the film. And
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted an autograph or you thought to bring a pen, you could. I saw some people doing that. But unless you had like an Instamatic camera, you couldn't have recorded the event at all. So you didn't have the memory of it to show people. But I met some amazing people in those things. I mean, they had a day where they screened Texas Chainsaw Massacre at Last House on the Left at a cinema
Yep.
in Watford back in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
I was sat watching these films, and on my left was Gunnar Hansen, and on my right was David Hess. Can you imagine?
Yep.
The two scariest people at the time from 70s horror. And
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar Hansen, again, like Lawrence Harvey, totally cultured, quietly spoken, very well educated, um, really gave you thoughtful answers to the questions, ever so pleased to the people who are interested in him, and David Hess as well. I mean, he's never played anything less than horrid psychos and things, didn't he? And yet, completely charming, wonderful guy. And this was in a cinema with only about 200 people, very low key, no crowding, just walking amongst the guests and the public, chatting away. So, I mean, that was really amazing. I met Lucio Fulci at one of
Oh,
these
nice.
uh,
Wow.
2 or 3 years before he died.
Mm-hmm.
He was diabetic. He had his foot in a cast and was sat with a translator. But he did sign My Lizard in a Woman's Skin VHS. And I got to sort of ask a few questions, but it was through an interpreter, you see. So, um, I mean, he was at the tail end of his life then, and he was probably had been suffering all day because he'd been on stage answering questions and his leg was hurting him. So he was probably a little bit on the grumpy side. But at least I can say, hey ho, I met Lucio Fulci. Um, they were probably the most famous people I've really thought, wow, incredible. Um, Obviously, since then, the acting with people who've been in some of these 70s movies has been fantastic. Ian McCulloch was totally amazing, and again, completely charming man. I saw him at the Dark Fest a year later, and he hadn't attended one of these events for years. He used to get tired of them, um, and he immediately recognised me. Oh, come, I'll sign that for you. Oh, of course, you don't have to pay, Chris. How's your acting been going, Chris? Have you had any offers for any work yet? And he was
Mm-hmm.
totally sincerely genuine, as if I'd suddenly become some star or something, because a year before we'd done a movie. And I said, well, I'm still waiting in the wings. And he even wrote on a signature for one of the things he signed for me. The world is waiting for you, Chris Walker. Totally wonderful from somebody like that. You know what I mean? You would never expect it. So that was very mind blowing. So
Yeah.
yeah, and of course, yeah, the Ray Harryhausen one was another legend.
Love
Fantastic.
Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I've
just feel sorry that I never ever managed to get to know like the Christopher Lees or the Peter Cushings or the Vincent Price. Those people would have been really good. I was just not probably not quite old enough or never in the right place at the right time. And sadly, a lot of the Hammer stars have died off now when they used to do conventions and things at Bray Studios. Um, either never had the money at the time to go and see them or was never free, and then the next thing you hear, they passed away. So, hey, that's how it goes. I got to meet Giovanni Lombardo Radici before he passed, so that's another good one. Um, yeah, as I say, Valerie Leon, Caroline Munro.
oh,
There's
love Carrie.
there's
Oh,
thousands more that are still with us that I just hope somehow or another get to meet them in some way. Yeah. But you've been very lucky on your show. Obviously, you've got to meet a load of people over in the US more, I think, haven't you, as well as
yep.
British ones.
Yep. No, Caroline was a highlight last year, at Horror Brahma. And like I said, I had her on here in 2016. So um, I mentioned that it was really cool because I still had her number on me, and
Oh,
I was like, it's interesting. I'm one of those people that had your number and I never abused it. Her handler was so happy about that.
I didn't sell it to the
Yeah,
internet.
I
Caroline,
wouldn't do
yeah.
that. No,
No.
but no, it was great chatting with her, and yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this. And do you have any charities you want to plug before we close off?
Oh gosh, to be honest, it would be the obvious ones. It would be anything to do with helping animals, RSPCA, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, No, I'm not really a big follower of charity stuff myself, but yeah,
Hmm.
anything with animals,
Yeah, oh
that takes
yeah.
care of animals is a good thing. So plug whatever animal charities you like. Yeah, they all need your money.
There you go. Well,
Okay,
Chris, it was wonderful having you come on here today. I was happy to,
good.
yeah. And next year, when this thing gets hopefully wrapped up, I'll see what else
Yeah.
you've done and maybe have you back. And
Well, yeah, as I
yeah.
say, hopefully the House of Zombies built will have entered the world and
Hmm.
Video Shop Tales of Terror. I've just done a few scenes in Video Shop Tales of Terror
Yeah.
Part 2, Lust and Revenge, where I had about two or three small parts, all dying again. I love to die on the camera. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be in something called Don't Open the Door, which I'm playing a demon in as part of a big crowd of demons. That's filming
Hmm.
in August. So that's going to be a feature out sometime whenever, next year or something. So there are
Hmm.
things happening. So we shall see. And whatever new stuff comes along, I always keep my ear to the ground, thinking that would be good. I'll put some money into that one, and all adds to the IMDb database. I've got about 9 credits now, so that's not bad in 4 or 5 years from being a nobody to having 5 credits and waiting in the wings for something big to happen. We shall see. We'll see if Twats is the one that does it. So
There you go. There you go.
I'll send you them photos. So yeah,
Hmm.
you're free to if you can splice them into the video to add to the chat, that'd be great.
If I'm able to, yes. If not, then I'll still send you this and you can post it and share it wherever you wish.
Brilliant.
All
Great
right.
chatting to you. Good luck with your next. Who's your next person you're gonna be chatting to? Do you know?
I think I got a podcaster coming on here Monday, if everything goes well. And and I think Ron Thompson from American Pop is coming back on here as well. So
How do you get to like have these people come onto the show with you? Do you just simply approach them or befriend them on Facebook?
mostly on social media.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been doing this show since 2015, so it's kind of old hats to me now doing it. So
I was looking at your page here. There was something like 700 entries for the people you'd interviewed. I was just trying to go through and pick a few of them out, and I thought, my God, there's so many, and I don't know all of these people. But wow, yeah, about 750, I think. Incredible.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of them are unlisted because I don't put them up right away because I was told by my former station manager, save some for a rainy day. And
Yeah.
COVID became the rainy day because
Oh, yeah.
when lockdown happened, I had no way of doing this. And it was one of my other guests that suggested Zoom, and this is so much more convenient for me. So,
Incredible.
yep.
No,
So,
technology is fantastic, isn't it? It lets
yep.
people be in movies who could never have done it before. It gets people to
Hmm.
talk on the other side of the world like we are
Hmm.
now. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Well, you
Good
have
luck.
yourself a wonderful day.
I
And
will. I'll finish off my vodka and tonic and
yeah, toast to Tony Martin and the
Tony
Witches of the
Marden and
Sand.
the Witches of the Sands. Good luck. We wish you every
Absolutely.
success. Take care.
Absolutely. Take care. God bless.
Thanks, Greg. Bye then.
Yep. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.